What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by DraftKings. Happy New Year. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. This is our NFL wildcard weekend betting preview. Joining me, as always, is the Prime Minister of Degenerate Nation, my guy, Stuckey Stuck. What is going on? Happy New Year, brother. I know we were just kind of commiserating about about your Ravens off air. I did want to get your quick thoughts on, before we get into the six pack and all the stupidness with the NFC South that happened last week. Just your quick thoughts on that game, and do you agree with the Harbaugh decision? Because it's not easy to find a coach that, like, the only problem is that he is his team is not clutch. So any quick thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, the Kyle Hamilton injury, there's some fluky plays in there that went the Steelers' way, some peak Steelers voodoo, the Watt pick, the Awuzie fall. But the Hamilton injury was the difference in the game. I tweeted it out right away. The defense is going to crater, and it did. They went from allowing 3.8 yards per play to 6.8 after he went out. He does so much for them, and they can't get pressure. He masked a lot of the issues. That's their main objective in the offseason. They have to address the lack of edge pressure on the defense. In regards to Harbaugh, thought it was coming. I think it was time for both. I think it's just time has run its course. I think Harbaugh will do well somewhere else, depending on the situation. Obviously, there's only so much you can do as a head coach, given the circumstances of the organization you go to. But I think the relationship between Lamar and, from what I've heard, Lamar and Harbaugh had splintered, and along with some of the other guys in the locker room. So I think it was time. I'm curious to see where they go. Is it like Schuler or Minter? But yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason for the Ravens. Harbaugh also he made some questionable decisions late in games over the recent seasons. He used to be so good in that department, and that stadium is the hardest. That's his last act as the Ravens head coach. That stadium is so hard to kick, and you just watched one of the best kickers in the NFL miss an extra point. And I could get into the real weeds and say that it's better off going kicking in that direction from the hash mark. But they centered it and lost yardage with a young kicker. You had a
Timeouts.
timeout in 14 seconds. Like, at least just run it. And
Yes.
maybe he was right about Henry's fumbles, but roll Lamar out. And then if there's nothing there, just tell him to throw it away. Or if he can't run for yards, like you have a timeout. There's so much you can do. Instead, they chose to lose yardage, and yeah, it was a tough way to lose. Especially like since if they got in, Lamar was starting to look a little better. Like they could have made a run. The AFC is that wide open. Um, but it's a shame. But it'll be a very interesting offseason for the Ravens. But I kind of agreed with the move for both parties.
Yeah, it's just kind of, the minute I heard, teams with coaches were interested in Harbaugh, I'm like, it's interesting because it's not like, it's a veteran team. They're always kind of making, splash moves in the free agent market. They're integrating new, important pieces. So, I mean, it's not easy to find a coach where it's like, okay, he can do everything he needs to do and then just not lose games in the clutch. You got to get there first, though. Yeah, I think it will just be interesting, but I mean, now we got Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs, fresh off a rushing day that was better than Lamar. So should be an interesting Monday night. I'll get into our six pack with our sides totals. Totals will be included in the six pack this week, and we'll still do our money line dog parlay. We'll still do our anytime touchdown parlay as well. If you want to tail some of the bets we're about to discuss, look for the quick flip links in the podcast and video description, or visit actionnetwork.com/bet now. 59-45. You're up, Stuck. Still been hot all year. Another money line dog with the Raiders. So that was just, I mean, a fitting way to go out of the regular season. I
You
think
got
that
yours
makes
too.
it.
We got our parlay this week.
Oh yeah.
The
So I
Lions.
mean, yeah. The Lions held on. It seemed like they kind of didn't almost, but yeah, they did.
Yeah, I went 16-2 on Moneyline Dogs, but we just could never pair the touchdowns together. Like we
Oh
got
my God,
Trevor, but not
Trumbo,
not Henry. Like
not Henry.
unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
Because the Ravens choose this game to just finally unleash Tez Walker And it seems like they benched Hopkins, and of course you bench Hopkins, and the veteran guy that's supposed to be on the same page regardless of how much he's playing,
Miscommunication on the sideline.
with Jackson. Yeah. With like, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if it really, like, Jackson's obviously one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen play the game, but maybe something is with the coach. You just got to get him more focused, because he is, like, even when he said, "I thought we had the game in the bag," I'm like, bro, like, have you not been a Raven? Like,
yeah.
Like, it's like, so maybe he's a little lackadaisical at times, because it is inexplicable how they keep doing this. But yeah, I would have ran with him. I would have ran with him. Not forget Henry. But here we are with the Steelers. Should be a good one there. Who's up first in the six pack this week? Was it? Did you go at? I think
you're up first. You're up first.
I'm a first. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I got work to do, as I've had all year. I mean, 16-2 on Moneyline Dogs is absurd. That is just, and you got another good one. I know this weekend, because I would have picked it if you didn't. So, but we'll kick off the wild card weekend six pack. My first pick of the wild card weekend six pack, first overall, it's going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars plus 1.5 at home against the Buffalo Bills. And first of all, shouts to the Jags. Know we both loved them coming into the year. Got us the division title at some nice odds. And going into this game against Buffalo, I know everyone's kind of just writing this as like, okay, this is just Josh Allen's Super Bowl year. This is just, there's no Mahomes, there's no Burrow, there's no Jackson. They're playing the Jaguars, who lost double-digit games last year. But it's not that easy in the NFL, as we've seen each and every week. First of all, this Jaguar team is better than the Bills team, this Bills team. I have them rated higher now. And there's a couple of things that's kind of stand out here. So the first thing is the Bills really struggle to defend the run. Now, the Jaguars, when they've been able to run the ball, when that's working for their offense, that takes a lot off Lawrence, who I think is still, he's been playing really well, but still a guy who you would not want to kind of trust fully in a game like this. I think if you're Liam Cohen, I think having that run game is going to do wonders for them. They've been resting Tootin. Etienne's been playing really well. And then on the other side, the Jacksonville Jaguars are one of the better teams in the league at stopping opposing run games. And that extends to the quarterback as well. The Jaguars are one of the top teams at defending quarterback design runs. And they've been pretty solid against scrambles. And then they've been good against running backs as well. And teams, to the point where part of it is game script, but teams haven't been really even trying to run on Jacksonville with the traditional run game. So it might have to come more from Josh Allen than it typically does. And, that could be an issue for Buffalo, because remember what they did last postseason in a year where, Josh Allen was playing brilliantly. I thought had barely a turnover last year heading into the playoffs. And they really committed to that run game like they have most of the Brady tenure. And now you're going up against Jacksonville, who can score points against this Bills team. And your run game, you might not get the explosives that you're used to from a guy like James Cook. Jacksonville has been one of the best teams in the league at preventing explosives, both on the ground and through the air. And if you don't get that, now you're still tasked with this. Okay, when we need a key conversion, we're playing a team that's good, that's going to sit back in a lot of zones, which Josh Allen can rip apart, and I'll get to that in a second. But they're going to sit back in a lot of zones. That makes it tougher to scramble and tougher to do some of those, otherworldly things. You have to kind of do it a little more traditionally at times. And then you still don't really love your receivers if you're Buffalo. I mean, to the point where you took like a banged up Kincaid and made him get a half, like a quarter of work in the finale, because you're going to need him in a big game like this. You're making one or two receivers healthy scratches each and every game. Jacksonville healthy at receiver three very good receivers now. When you have Thomas, Washington's come on really strong. Thomas is like the weakest one, and then you have and then of course you have Jacoby Myers. So there's a lot to defend if you're Buffalo. This defense is not good. They're 30th against the run in DVOA. Their secondary still has a lot of question marks. A little bit banged up heading into the game. We'll see. So give me the Jags plus 1.5. Don't mind the money line. I think the Bills are gonna have the work cut out for them in this one. I know it's Josh's kind of, it's a script for Josh, but I think I respect this Jags team a lot. Have all year.
I like the Jags in the first half, and the reason for this, the Cohen script, the Jags have been elite in the first half of games. And if you just look at Trevor Lawrence's splits, first half, 13th EPA plus completion percentage over expectation, 14th adjusted EPA, 13th success rate. In the second half, 32nd, 21st, 21st. Allen in the first half, 25th EPA plus completion over expectation, 21st adjusted EPA per play, 24th in success rate. In the second half, first, second, fourth quarter, first, second. A lot of that, what that speaks to is the Cohen script. Lawrence really benefits from that. And then Allen in this Bills offense, they try to run it way too much in the first half of games. And that's going to go right into the strength of the Jags defense. And then once Allen gets unleashed against this, I could see them coming back and having success against this Jags secondary. But if I had to play the full game too, I would play the Jags. I just prefer the first half money line. This Jags improvement, they've won 8 straight. And by the way, 8 straight, that's the same amount of games the Bills have lost consecutively on the road in the playoffs. McDermott himself is 0-5. A lot of those have come against the Chiefs, in fairness, but the surge is real. Since they got Jacoby Myers, they are top 5 in dropback success rate and EPA per play. Now, you might say the schedule's easy. It was, but they also blew out the Chargers and they went to Denver and beat them handedly. And it's not just Jacoby Myers, who's been awesome, but Thomas got healthier. Strange. He
Strange.
got healthier. They also inserted Cole Van Lanen at left tackle, and they just signed him an extension. He's been a revelation. Kicked Little into guard, where I think he's more suitable. So the offense, there's a lot of reasons why. I think the screen game can work here. They can run it on Buffalo. You might say, oh, well, since week 10, they're 31st in rush success rate. Throw that out. They won 6 of their 8 games by 20 plus points. So they were just running into walls in the fourth quarter. They have a 20% rush success rate in the fourth quarter over their last 8 weeks. If you look in just first half, they're still top 10 in rush success rate. So I think they'll be able to run it here. When a Cohen offense can run it on a Buffalo defense that struggles in that department, everything else opens up. So I like the Jags early. I would bet, I think this is a point flip game. I would bet them for the full game as well. And the Jags defense is improving as well. I mean, without turnovers since week 10, and a lot of the talk was like their defense is only good because of turnovers. If you remove turnovers since week 10, they're second in EPA per play. Bills are 17th. Antonio Johnson is coming on at safety. Monteric Brown is playing really, really well, which was needed because Jordan Lewis went on IR. Jerry Jones went back to the slot. And Antonio Johnson right now is the #1 rated PFF safety in the league. You got Murray back from injury early in the season. No more Thornhill, which is big. And this is one of 4 defenses in the league that ranks in the top 7 in pass and run DVOA. And this team has been good at home. They're 7-1 against the spread at home, covering by over 14 points per game, 6-2 in the first half. Bills in the first half against the spread, 3-5. So I agree with you here. This would have been one of my picks, but I bet the Jags on the first half. We'll have more on this game later. But for my first pick and the second overall of the wild card weekend 6-pack, I'm going with the Los Angeles Chargers plus 3.5 at the New England Patriots. Start off, I project this at like 2.5. So obviously, I'm taking over a field goal here with the Chargers. This is also a trend that I do like and think has some validity. It's a quarterback with playoff experience playing a quarterback making their first playoff start. Historically, those quarterbacks making their first playoff start against a quarterback with experience, 20-39 against the spread. Not good. There's also some matchup advantages here I like for the Chargers. One, they take away explosive passing plays. That's one of the keys that you need to do when you're facing the Patriots. And on offense, their offensive line, that's the biggest question in this game. It's obviously a shell of itself. But the Patriots 27th in adjusted pressure rate. I'm not really afraid of that Patriots defensive line ruining this game. They're also dealing with some injuries. We'll see what the injury report looks like today. But it's not a defense that's going to kill you with pressure. So I think Herbert can make enough plays here. And admittedly, the Patriots are hard to price because their schedule was a joke. I mean, they had the easiest schedule of any team over the past 25 years.
You know, the second,
But
at least in my numbers, the Bills right after the Patriots.
yeah, it doesn't surprise me. So like they played one team with a winning record all year, and it was the Bills, and they split with them. That's it. And then the schedule's even easier than it appears because they played nothing but backup quarterbacks. They played Tyler Huntley, Tua, who was benched, Spencer Rattler with the Saints, Penix before he got hurt, Flacco with the Bengals, Gabriel with the Browns, Fields with the Jets, Ewers, Cook, and then a bunch of rookies, Dart and Ward. I mean, who's the the second best quarterback they faced besides Allen? Is it Baker Mayfield in the second half of the year where he was the worst quarterback in the NFL? Like it's a joke. So like this defense, this is the second best quarterback they will face all year, and by far the best defense they will face. Like, look at the defenses they face. The Chargers, number 2 in EPA over the past 10 weeks. So I mean, look, 11 of their 14 wins came against either rookies, backups, or quarterbacks who were benched. It's hard to overstate how easy that schedule was, and now they're dealing with some injuries. They also were pretty lucky on the year. Fumbles. They lost only 8 of 20. They recovered 9 of 14. Fourth downs, 18 of 25 on fourth down, 1.3 EPA per play. Their opponents, 10 of 30, minus zero point 0.6 EPA per play. And then May, he got away with a lot of throws. He was tremendous. I think he deserves the MVP, but 8 interceptions, but 17 turnover-worthy plays. Wouldn't be surprised if Minter forces him into a mistake or two. There's a couple bounces and fourth downs that go the Chargers' way. And by the way, the Chargers had a bye last week. Rested up. That's important late in the year. The Patriots obviously played. I think that's worth a little something. And then where I think this game is going to be decided is potentially in the red zone. Chargers going to play a lot of zone, prevent explosive plays. And then in the red zone, they're excellent. I think they're going to hold the Patriots. Then the Patriots haven't been great in the red zone on offense. Chargers this year, 45% touchdown rate allowed in the red zone. That's number 4 in the NFL. Under Minter last year, 45%. That was number 2. And then the Chargers offense, it's never great in the red zone, but the Patriots are 30th in the league in red zone touchdown percentage allowed. And they played all of those clowns I just listed. So there's a chance that the Chargers can actually cap off drives with 7s here. I mean, you're going to give me over a field goal with an elite coach, a great staff, and the clearly superior defense against the quarterback making his first playoff start. I'm taking it, especially because I project under 3. Give me the Chargers. Herbert, 12-2-1 against the spread, 86% when catching over a field goal, covering by over a field goal per game. Give me the Bolts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm leaning that way as well. I think the Patriots have been, as much as I like May, the team itself has been just a little bit overrated because of the schedule. They once you start schedule adjusting their numbers, they come back to the pack a lot in a lot of numbers. My biggest worry here is just things it's hard to really quantify. It's just like those intangible factors. It's like, okay, the Chargers, this is the other hardball now, team, but coming off just a sleepy week off, which they needed, but the Patriots didn't take a week off, and they're gonna be, kind of just keeping it rolling, and then there's Mike Vrabel, and then he's always worth a little something, and then it's like, okay, well, is this Justin Herbert playoff base plant? Is there something to it? Because when you have these hardballs, you never know. So it's like that. But I mean, that's here nor there. I think the right side is.
But bottom line, I projected 2.5.
Yeah. The bottom line is no. I'm just saying, like, when you kind of just have like love to go through them from the the kind of gut check angles too. That's really the only holes I can poke in the Chargers. It's not on paper. They're absolutely the right side here. Okay. For my second pick, the third overall of the wild card weekend 6-pack, I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles, San Francisco 49ers under 44.5. This is a spot where, I kind of had it circled. Matt, I missed. I think the line opened like 46. I think you bet that, Stuckey. That was smart. I ended up missing it. I'm hoping that maybe I'll get back to 45 and can at least get a little insurance, but I mean, not a key number, so it doesn't matter for the contest. We know the Eagles offense can go through these stretches where it is just brutal. We've seen this all year. The Niners on defense are not good. But when you look at the Niners games and you see a lot of high-scoring games, what is the common denominator in those games? It's that the Niners have been able to score, thus, you know, starting essentially kicking off a shootout. And their defense is easy to move the ball against. And therefore, you see a ton of high scoring games. Stuck, I think you pointed out that, last week, that Seahawks Niners game, that total was just, it was kind of ridiculous in retrospect. It ended up being like a 13-3 game. But it's, once you have, when you play the Niners and you can kind of hold them down, now it turns into a whole different game script because Shanahan is generally conservative. Right, he's going to run the ball. He's not going to try to make his quarterback do too much against this Philadelphia Fangio defense. He's going to lean on McCaffrey. He's going to lean on his tight end Kittle. So it's going to be, you're going to try to manufacture explosives. You're probably not going to be that successful against Philadelphia. And Philadelphia, on the other end, like, yes, this Niner defense is really bad, but what are the things the Niners like to do to kind of combat that? Well, they like to sit back. They don't like to give up explosives. They still want to make you drive the length of the field, not make mistakes, injure a couple linebackers along the way if you have to. But it's one of those defenses. They don't stack the box a ton, which I actually think, I know the Eagles are, a team that wants to be able to run the ball. And you say, oh, well, if you don't stack the box against the Eagles, they're just going to go crazy. But I actually like not stacking the box against Philly because I've seen this kind of play out the opposite way just way too many times last year with Saquon Barkley, where I'm betting against the Eagles or I'm betting on an under or something like that, and then it's they stack the box and then they get the angles and then it's just there's no one in the back on the back end to save it. So the Niners tend to not stack the box. They do it at the lowest rate in the league. So I think the Eagles are going to be able to move the ball, but now you're asking an offense that was broken for what? I mean, at least half the year, and it had a stretch in almost every game where they just go dead for over like multiple quarters. You're asking them to, drive up and down the field methodically, and you're probably not going to need to push it because I don't think the Niners are going to have a ton of success offensively. Unfortunately, because I really wanted to see the Eagles get, kind of knocked out early. Like I wanted to see the Niners kind of make it back, but I just don't know if they have enough here. But
yeah, I wanted to fade Philly, but
yeah, it feels very similar to that game last year where Philly was coming in. I think they were home against Green Bay, and it was like, you respect Green Bay a lot. Green Bay, all things considered, health-wise, if they were good, probably would have been able to make some noise, but just guys dropped like flies before the game, in the game, and it's like San Francisco is kind of the same thing. It's like, I mean, just watching these guys just drop like flies against the Seahawks and knowing what they were going to have to do next the week after that. I mean, that's kind of the cap here. I just think that both of these teams are conservative, and we've seen the Eagles be like a stone cold under team when their defense is clicking, which it will be, and the Niners be a stone cold under team when they can't create a shootout, like game against the Browns, game against the Seahawks. So yeah, give me the under 44.5.
Yeah, Eagles also coming off basically a bye while the 49ers were in like a war. That 49ers ton of linebacker injuries. I mean, Tatum Bethune, it was the backup for Warner. And then, D Winters, it's dealing with a groin, Gifford dealing with a quad. I mean, they may not be down their top four linebackers. And it's a defense that can't get any pressure. I mean, since they lost both Bosa and Warner, I mean, this has been a sad unit. The second lowest pressure rate in the league to 28th EPA per play. But I like the under here too. I mean, this is historically Fangio has owned Shanahan, by the way. They met 5 times head to head, either when Shanahan was the head coach or a coordinator. He's never cleared 15 points, averaged, I think, around 11 points per game. Eagles are number 1 in the league against tight ends, number 1 in the league against short passes. I don't think Pearsall's going to play. That's kind of the area where they might have had some success with some explosive plays against that second corner spot for the Eagles. I also don't think Trent Williams is going to play. I also have a sneaking suspicion Lane Johnson's going to be out this week. And we know the Eagles offense much different with and without Lane Johnson. And the Eagles offense just isn't the same group this year that it was last year. I mean, they're 30th in line yards, 29th in stuff rate. The offensive line is nowhere near as good. They're dealing with a ton of injuries. The play calling is brutal. I mean, how many times can you run a hitch route? And that's why they go into a shell for like a quarter or a half every game. And it's against bad defenses too. Go back to the Dallas game where they couldn't score indoors against the Dallas defense for an entire half. This is a team that
Bears.
won. Yeah,
Bears
this
too.
Bears. This is a team that won 2 games this year without completing a pass in the second half. And even if they do get out to a big lead, they're like a service academy. They're in the second half. They can go on like a 12-minute drive to run out the clock. So, and if you look, this Niners offense was exploding at the end of the year, but it was against bad, really beat up defenses. Against the Seahawks, the Browns, they didn't do anything. They only averaged 17 points per game in the games they faced top 10 defenses this year. I think that's their ceiling here. They don't match up well against this Eagles defense. If they even get to 17, can they hold Philly under 30? I think so. I mean, Philly's only gotten to 30 4 times, 31 against the Raiders, 31 against the Bucks, 38 against the Giants, and then they got to 30 because of a blocked field goal return with no time left against the Rams. So, yeah, and I don't without Lane Johnson, here's what the 49ers are going to do. They're going to play a ton of zone, a ton of too high, limit the explosives. They still can do that well. They still are a good defense in the red zone under Saleh. Also, Saleh versus Petula, huge mismatch in favor of the 49ers defense. And they're going to play a ton of zone. I like playing more zone against Hurts compared to man. And the Eagles offense, yes, they've scored on 70%, scored touchdowns on 70% of their red zone drives, which is number one in the NFL. I don't think that's sustainable. A lot of noise in that. They were a better offense last year and at 58%. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some red zone trips end in field goals here. I like the under. Outdoor under, there's going to be some wind too. Since 2003, postseason unders in outdoor games with an average wind speed of more than 10 miles per hour, 28-2 against the closing total, staying under by more than 6 points per game. And I mean, if you just look at unders in outdoors above 44 in the wild card round, 31-10 to the under, 75.6%. I think this is like 27-14 Eagles. So I like the under as well.
All right, before we get to the rest of the six pack, here is your weekly reminder to sign up for Action Pro. Only Action Pro subscribers get real-time notifications when Stuckey, Brandon Anderson, Sean Kerner, or any of our action experts track picks in the app. There will be plenty of fun sweats this NFL postseason, so you want to get on board right now. You can use promo code POD20 for $20 off an annual subscription. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro and use code POD20 for $20 off. The rest of the wild card weekend six pack is coming up, but first I'll throw it to myself for a quick word from our sponsor, DraftKings. The Action Network podcast has teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers can bet $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. Stay in on the action and use your bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. To get started, use promo code Action Network when signing up with DraftKings. Again, use code Action Network when signing up with DraftKings and bet $5 to get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. The crown is yours. All right, Stuck. Where are you going second?
All right, for my second pick and the fourth overall, the wild card weekend six pack, I'm going with the Green Bay Packers -1.5 at the Chicago Bears. I bet this when they were an underdog. It's moved since we came up with our script, but I would still play the Packers here. I think it's over for the Bears. Look, shout out to the Bears. Love them this year. Got the division, got the plus, got their win total over, but it was extremely fluky. I mean, this is a team that easily could have went 0-6 in the division. They were only the second team in the past 30 years that won a division with a losing division record. Their 2 wins came because of an onside kick recovery against the Packers and a long kick return against J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings. That's how close they were. They're going to 0-6 in the division. They also had an NFL best 6 wins when trailing with under 2 minutes to go. They easily could have lost to the Raiders, the Commanders, the Bengals with Flacco, the Giants, the Vikings, the Steelers with Rudolph, the Packers with Willis. Like they're all games they won in the final seconds. This team easily could have had 11 losses. I mean, no joke. So they also had a +22 turnover margin. Packers were +1. The Bears led the league in takeaways and giveaways. And it's not like Caleb Williams didn't put the ball in harm's way. He did. If you look at turnover-worthy plays, he probably should have had a couple more picks. The Bears were number 1 in turnover EPA. The Packers 30th. Don't be surprised if a couple bounces go Green Bay's way here. And this Bears defense is atrocious. 30th in EPA per play without turnovers. Packers are 13th. Early down drop back success rate without turnovers. Packers 7th. Bears 26th. Caleb Williams also. I have the much better quarterback here. And by the way, first time starting quarterback making his first playoff start against the quarterback with playoff experience. But Caleb Williams, he's dead last in completion percentage over expectation on early downs. For the full season, EPA plus completion percentage over expectation. Love is third. Caleb is 28th. Caleb, the third highest bad throw rate in the league. Only one of three quarterbacks with a bad throw rate north of 20%. The other two are JJ McCarthy and Penix. So here's how I think this plays out. The biggest key for me, and by the way, it is not insignificant that the Packers got a bye last week. They rested everyone, punted the game like I thought they would. I said it was going to be 23-3, but Max Brosmer turned it over inside the 10. Otherwise, that would have been the exact final score. They didn't care about that game. They didn't game plan for that game. They were game planning for this game. They rested everyone with injuries. And the Bears, by the way, they tried and exuded more effort, had a couple more injuries. These two teams, they had their bye week in week 5. That's a valuable week off before the playoffs last week for Green Bay. And now they should have Zach Tom back. Their full arsenal of weapons. Jordan Love, the number one quarterback in the NFL this year with a clean pocket. Well, guess what? You're going up against the Bears. You're going to have a clean pocket all day long, especially with Tom back. The Bears give up explosives. The Packers hit explosives. The Packers limit explosives. I think that's the difference. Yes, Chicago's going to have success running the ball with Ben Johnson. They always do. Although I thought Green Bay's defense did a really good job without Parsons in their last meeting. By the way, the Packers, I thought, were the much better team in both meetings. They never trailed until the final play of overtime in Chicago. It took 14 miracles. I mean, there was a face mask that would have ended the game. It would have been 4th and 30 that would have ended the game before a field goal, then an onside, then a touchdown. Then, I mean, uh, the Packers should have swept the Bears. So, yeah, I think the gig is up. I know it's going to be electric. First Bears home playoff game since the double doink. But there might be some snow here. It could be a snover. I originally loved this over, but I'm worried about the wind, so I got to watch the wind. There might be some snow, so keep an eye on the Action Network app. I might have something on this total. Um, but yeah, the Bears were an extremely lucky team this year. I think this is a luck rankings game. I saw Nick Giffen put it in. The Packers went 0-3 when they didn't punt. The rest of the NFL, it only happened 11 times. The rest of the NFL went 8-0. Uh, the Bears very lucky in one possession games, end of game, like just turnovers. I think it comes to an end here. Give me the Green Bay Packers to advance. I'll take the better and more experienced quarterback. I know the Packers defense has been trending down, and it's not a great unit without Parsons, but it's still better than the Bears. And I have the better quarterback and the better passing attack. Give me Green Bay.
Yeah, like the number a lot better, obviously, when when the Pack were underdogs. I think they're the right side, but a little bit similarly to just like the Ravens or the Chargers. Packers have just been a hard team for me personally to handicap. And they are in this spot for me too, because yeah, the numbers are great. How do you just quantify the sweep walk through the last month of the season with, combined with the bye, combined with the fact that I do think, this is a game where I don't think they're going to be outcoached. I don't think the Bears are going to be outcoached. That's one thing that's kind of been going in their direction. So it's just, and then, the Packers kind of, okay, they've been sleepwalking through the last month of the year. They had the bye. Now they're playing a division opponent for the third time. How are you, like, what's the practice? What are the practices like? How hard are you going? Are you going super hard? Because this team has also struggled with in-game injuries just inexplicably. So yeah, those are like, it's the same thing with as the Chargers, where it's on paper, I think the Packers they should be favored even on the road. Only thing that I worry about is just intangibles, which I think more often than not, you're gonna be on the right side of that. So I can't knock it. Don't feel great about it. But
for the over, you saw last week, Johnson didn't go for it late against the Lions. Obviously, it didn't end up costing him because the Eagles also lost. But he whispered, you could tell you see on the sideline, he whispered himself, should have went for it.
Yeah.
I think that might carry over this week, and they might be pretty aggressive on fourth downs. He knows the state of that defense. And I think LaFleur is going to be aggressive here. So in that first game, like the game went under, but there was like 6 drives of like 70 yards that either ended in turnover on downs or field goals. Yeah, I think depending on the weather. You got to worry about the wind in Chicago this time of the year, but I might be on the over, especially if there's the right amount of snow and the wind isn't too bad. But I like the Packers to get it done in advance. Where
Yeah,
you going?
I think yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was gonna say I do like the I do lean over as well. I think the Bears, if it looks like a Dunze may have a chance to come back this week, but I really like what I've seen out of Janae Walker, one of their receivers. So I wonder if they still give him some snaps. That's a under. I'm not going there for the touchdown, but that is an underrated touchdown bet because I could see him getting some red zone snaps against those undersized Packer corners, but. For my third and final pick, the fifth overall of the wild card weekend 6-pack. Yeah, I think you called this last week that one of us was going to do this. Hate to do it, but got to do it. I'm going with the Carolina Panthers plus 10.5 as home dogs to the Los Angeles Rams. And it is disgusting. I know it's not going to be a fun play, but we got a couple of things working for us here. Number one, you look at I already mentioned kind of the history of when, teams are at home as underdogs in the playoffs. So let's look at it. Let's look at it another way. Let's look at road favorites and going back like all time in the playoffs, you look for a spread this high, you got a road favorite covered in the playoffs, and you can't find it.
Well, this will be the largest road favorite in NFL history if it stands.
Yeah. And it just has it's never been so. But you look at any number that's even been a touchdown or higher, so 7 or higher, never been covered by a road favorite in a postseason game in the history of the NFL playoffs. When you look at anything 4 or greater for road favorites, so -4 or greater, they are 5-11-1 against the spread in those spots. And if you just look at the 84 postseason games in NFL history, when the road team is favored, 18 of them. So that is, under 25, under a quarter of them have ended with that road team that's been favored winning by more than 10 points. So it's just really hard to do. Granted, it's, there's not a huge precedent for numbers this big, but there's also a reason for that. This is still a confident NFL team in the Carolina Panthers. Fell into the playoffs, and it has been kind of an interesting ride for the Rams. I mean, for most of the year, they look like just a runaway Super Bowl favorite, or maybe I should say runaway, but they look like they were in prime position to be the Super Bowl favorite, number 1 seed. Kind of make the playoffs go through them, the NFC playoffs go through them, and then they collapse against Seattle, they collapse against, not collapse, they come out flat against Atlanta, and now you're going on the road against a team that shouldn't even be in the playoffs, that just kind of fell into the playoffs despite losing in a must-win game already. So I do think, a veteran team like the Rams that has, that's already won a Super Bowl and is kind of been thinking bigger all year long. I think this could be a little bit of a flat spot for them. They have, we've seen just the Rams on the road this year come out a little shaky. I mean, Stafford with the picks against Carolina, they lost to this team. For anyone that thinks it can't be done, like they lost to this team, just over a month ago in Carolina because of some turnovers. They went on the road to Atlanta as a, more than a touchdown favorite, a game that, maybe they would have some trouble in, but still expected to handle business, get down way big in that game and end up not being able to pull off the comeback. So this Ram team could come out of it. They could either come out a little flat, outdoors Stafford offense, or they could come out a little tight because they haven't been, they kind of let a lot get away here. But either way, I like my odds just with the history of these kind of spots in the playoffs. And then now, the one thing I will say the Rams do have going for them that does worry me for Carolina is, which is why I would play the spread. I don't know about the straight up money line here. Generally, you have more success with the shorter money lines in terms of actually winning outright. But Quentin Lake, if he's back for the Rams, I do think that's big. I think that'll help their run defense, which is always going to be the number one against the Panthers. They're going to try to run the ball, but that's another thing here. I think you'll kind of get to this in a moment, Stuck, but I do think this has a potential to be a lower scoring game. I know they played like the 31-28 game in the last meeting, but a lot of turnovers in that one. I think the Rams, McVay will try to be conservative here. The Rams still, this is now a kicker who hasn't really kicked in the postseason before. In Harrison Mevis, going on the road to a windy spot, could see a miss kick or two in this one. But also, I don't think the Rams want to really play with their food here after some of these road collapses. So I think you could easily get to a spot where I could see like a 20-10 Rams win, and you still like eke out the cover here. And again, this is just more about, I think this number's too big. I know the Panthers are no good. I know they're, they shouldn't be in the playoffs. That plain and simple. But I still don't make this number, what is it now? It's 10.5. I still don't make this. I'd make this number just like a smidge inside of 10. You're still talking about an indoor kind of finesse football team going on the road in windy conditions, in a spot they turned it over, in a spot they already lost, with a kicker who doesn't have postseason experience, and a team that just hasn't been great on the road against a team that home underdogs, the Panthers 5-2 against the spread. So they've been doing it as underdogs all year. I mean, they've been underdogs, I think, 14 times and covered 9 of them. And at home they've been good against the spread. So just think it's too many points. It's ugly, but expecting a lower scoring game, hard to cover these big numbers. Expect the Rams to be conservative, and still don't know where the health of Adams is.
That's my point with Adams. I guess I'll share my thoughts on my final pick. With my final pick, or with my third pick in the final overall, the wild card weekend 6-pack, I'm going to this game. I'm going with the Rams Panthers under 46.5. Haven't logged this in the app yet. Haven't bet it yet. I'm waiting to see the 47 pops. But these two teams, when they played earlier this year, it was 31-28. I kind of almost throw out that game for some reasons. It started with a Rams kickoff return that led to a short field. That's very rare, by the way, because these are two of the best kickoff teams in the NFL as far as field position, which should help the under, even if it's marginally. And then there was a pick six. And then the Panthers, this is how the Panthers scored their 4 touchdowns. Pick six, 35-yard touchdown on 3rd and 8, 33-yard touchdown on 4th down, 42-yard touchdown on 4th down. Not sustainable in my eyes. There's a chance that they get blown out here. I could only take the Panthers at 10.5, but I don't think I'm going to get there. I mean, I look at the numbers from that game. The Panthers had a 37% rushing success rate. That's well below their average of 41%. They had a sub 40% success rate overall. I mean, there's only a handful of teams, the Browns, Raiders, and Titans, that finished the season under 40%. And then you mentioned Quentin Lake. He should be back. That'll help the Rams defense. And then you look at the Rams side. And by the way, the Carolina rushing attack is gone in the tank. Weeks 1 through 9, top 10 EPA, top 10 success rate. Since 27th EPA, 29th success rate. I think their backs are worn down. The injuries up front along the offensive line have caught up to them, and they can't run the ball anymore. So what, you're gonna rely on Bryce Young throwing? He's 25th in dropback EPA. They usually cannot hit anything downfield. That game was just such an outlier. And by the way, they're going to see a lot of zone. Yeah, Young, for his career, 26 touchdowns, 10 interceptions against man, 12 touchdowns, 18 interceptions against zone. So I think like the ceiling for the Panthers here is, I'm going to say like 14 points. I mean, we'll call it, I'll give them 17 is their ceiling without flukes. So can the Rams get into the 30s? You might say, well, yeah, that probably makes sense. The Panthers don't get any pressure. They're not a good defense. The Rams got into the 40s. I mean, got into the 30s 9 times in 17 games. But I will say this. The Rams, they dominated. They did whatever they wanted in that game besides the turnovers. They had, I mean, it was insane. They had a 60% success rate, a 76% rush success rate. But the Panthers had no linebackers. J.C. Horn was out with a concussion. Morrig was out with he was suspended from the week before in the incident in San Francisco. So they were missing 4 or 5 starters on defense. And Stafford did make mistakes. And he has struggled historically against defense that disguise their coverages post snap. Well, the Panthers do that at the highest rate in the league. And Evero, who we both love, there's something to this. Stafford has struggled now against him and Morris, his ex-coordinators. A lot of cover three in there, disguised coverages. In 4 meetings against those two, his 11 interceptions. And this year, Evero against the Shanahan-McVay tree dominated. I mean, you saw Purdy throw 3 interceptions against Carolina, looked awful, looked so confused. You saw Jordan Love get upset at home by the Panthers, and then you saw Stafford throwing all those interceptions against the backup Panthers. So I think that there's something there. Um, they're usually not going to blitz at a high rate. You don't want to blitz Stafford.
No.
They tried it a little. They tried it on 25% of the snaps in the first meeting. Stafford went 5 of 7 for 110 yards and a touchdown. I think they usually don't blitz a lot. I think this will be like a 15% blitz rate game. Keep everything in front of you. And this, in your defense, this line closed at 10 the first meeting. The Panthers went outright. It was fluky, but they didn't have multiple starters on defense. The Rams also had Dotson, who might not play. Their offensive line is not the same without him. And they had Adams with 2 touchdowns. We don't know how healthy he's going to be either.
I think he practicing full, so I'm expecting him to be
Yeah,
back.
but there might be just some
yeah.
rust, some drop off in production. Like that's more of a question. Like the first meeting, he had 2 touchdowns. He was 100% healthy. Like he's going to play here, and I expect him to start. But there's a chance that he's not at 100%. So yeah, like I mentioned before, outdoor totals above 45, 44 in the wild card round, 31 and 10 at the under since 2003. So yeah, I'll call for a 27-17 Rams win to make you happy as well. My numbers say 28-17, but
I mean, it's fair. I was gonna say, so the one thing about the one thing that I will say for the Panthers, since we are talking about the total as well, is something that kind of got a little under the radar is we didn't know if the Panthers were going to be in the playoffs. Robert Hunt, guard, very good player, full practice on Tuesday, and another interior lineman, Chandler Zavala, full practice on Tuesday. Both of those guys are on IR, slated to return. Hunt would be massive for that run game. That doesn't necessarily that
helps the under.
Yeah, because I was about to say
they had some drives in the first game where they went like 30 yards over like 7 minutes. I think there was one drive. So the Panthers are the Rams are fast, but the Panthers are very slow. And they're going to try to shorten this game.
Yes.
And eat the clock.
Yeah, Hunt would be massive for that. And it's also worth pointing out, with the special teams, the Rams, they loved Cardi for his ability to kind of do that the kickoffs, and now it's going to be now it's Mevis, and again a guy who just doesn't have the same experience. So I do think that kind of tilts it in the Panthers' favor. So yeah, there are little subtle things, like even from that first matchup that tilt back Carolina, which is what, because I am thinking about playing the under too. I agree. I think that's the road for the Panthers. I just think that's the way the game is going to go.
Yeah, I think they're correlated. Like the Panthers this time around are not going to win the game in the 30s.
Exactly. So I like the under.
They have to find a way to win this game 20-17.
Yeah,
that's the only way they win this game.
I mean, the Rams.
They got to turn over Stafford, confuse him, don't blitz him, disguise the coverage as well, force him into mistakes, hold him to field goals, and yeah, but that was a very fluky result the first time around. They cannot rely. They're not going to score 31 points again. No,
and this is a team that so there's only 6 teams this year that connected on field goals at under an 80% clip, and the Rams are one of them. Interestingly, a lot of indoor teams: Lions, Rams, Saints, Cardinals, all on that list. But yeah, I'm just not convinced that we've seen this time and time again. Like when you kick these veteran
the Rams
coaches,
special teams are not good overall, so they're
not. Yeah, they're not. But I just these veteran coaches, they put these trust in these unproven kickers, and I like what I've seen so far, but it's just a different beast. So yeah, I think there are ways for the Panthers to kind of keep this close. But I agree. I think it's gonna be a game that the Panthers are gonna try to. The announcers are gonna say something cliche. Unless is it Olsen for this game? Who are we getting for this? Is it gonna be Greg Olsen?
I
If it's
hope.
Greg, yeah, if it's Greg Olsen, we won't get anything cliche. But yeah, you probably hear like, oh, if you could just give yourself a chance to be down by like 10 points and into the fourth quarter, I think you'll be, happy with it, or something like that. So I do think the Panthers are gonna have to kind of have to play like that. And
Yeah, Olsen gets it. Oh, shout out Greg. He was excited to go to the Panthers game with his kid when he had the week off, or when he did the game early in the week. He went to the Panthers game, I think 2 weeks ago. I think over Christmas. So he'll get
okay,
to go. He'll get to go there now. But Olsen
gotcha.
by far the best announcer in the NFL.
Yeah, I will say though, Brady's gotten better. Like from year one to year two, Brady has gotten a lot better. He's gotten more comfortable. But yeah, I love
No,
Olsen.
I'm just saying, like from it,
Yeah, yeah,
talking about from an analyst perspective
yes,
and the fourth downs
yes.
and field goals and situationally, he's always saying the things that I'm about to tweet. Like I'm like, oh, he just said it, so I don't have to tweet this because everyone would have heard it. So I love listening to him. But yeah, he'll be on the call for the Panthers game. So it looks like I got Herbert to the playoffs. We don't have bad quarterbacks. Herbert, Love, and I'm fading Bryce Young with the under. And you have
Bryce Young,
Bryce
Bryce,
Young. You found the one bad quarterback.
of
Um,
course.
Bryce Young,
Well, no, Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. Yeah, you're fading Jalen Hurts. Uh,
And
and
Trev. I
and
got all the
Trev.
worst quarterbacks.
You did still find a way.
Yeah. And we know Purdy outdoors when against like a good
And
defense.
Purdy's might be banged up too.
Yeah. I was thinking about that, but I mean, it's the Niners. Everyone's banged up, I guess. So, okay, that's gonna do it for our wild card weekend 6-pack.